Hello, this is Chris Pleasant. This is our Bio 163 Lab 8 brain dissection. It's a sheep's brain. And we're going to go over some anatomy or structures of the sheep's brain. The first one is the dura mater, which is a lining that goes across the entire sheep's brain. You can pull it apart a little bit right here so you can kind of see it. It goes over and inside all of the cracks and crevices and crannies. Now the major portions of the brain, the large part that's split in half is the cerebrum. So left and right halves. Divided into the cerebrum is the longitudinal fissure, going right down the middle. A couple of major structures or other things obvious to see are the gyri, these folded curves. Kind of whitish tan matter right here. In between the gyri are sulci, and there are little bitty lesions or cracks that go down into the brains a bit. If I pull it apart, you can see that the sulci do run inside the brain matter. A couple of other will split the brain into lobes. The frontal lobe is obviously here in the front, kind of small, not greatly developed in the sheep. The next is a parietal lobe, which is the vast majority of the brain. It's this top part here, kind of in the middle. Temporal lobe is the small area that kind of juts down, posterior side of the brain. And the occipital lobe is posterior brain here. Just a small bump in the back, not very developed in the sheep either. This particular specimen didn't come with a very good olfactory bulb. It would be two parts that jut out kind of right here and right here. Also the occipital chasm, where the occipital or the optical nerves cross. As you can see here are two of the nerves. The spinal cord is here to the posterior, right under the cerebellum, the small part right here. This is the cerebellum, or what they call the small brain. Now some internal structures. The corpus callosum, I believe is what it's called, is right here. A small band of axons banded together. The fornix is right under it, this part right here, this smaller band, or this other band just under it. The lateral ventricles, there's one on each side. Right here where the probe is space that's usually filled with cerebral spinal fluid. This area is the thalamus, kind of well seen. This is the penile body, this little small structure here. The hypothalamus is this kind of raised area in the spinal cord. The pons is a small structure. You can well see right here where my probe is at the bottom. Pons is a small area of the spinal cord or midbrain. I see a small bump here that represents the pons. This second part, as you can see, it's a small ridge also, is the medulla oblongata. These together make up the midbrain. Here are the white matter and the gray matter of the cerebellum. Looks much like a little tree. Again, this is one of the lateral ventricles. Here is what they call the third ventricle, right over the thalamus gland, and the fourth ventricle is right here in the cerebellum. Cerebrospinal fluid flows from here where it's created through the third ventricle into the fourth ventricle and down to the spinal cord. Thank you very much.